It's back, baby. I'm talking about Super Game Day, Sunday Bowl football. And with it, the tradition of actually watching the whole commercial instead of hitting the skip ad button the absolute microsecond it becomes available. And one of the better commercials was from General Motors, and it starred Will Ferrell, angrily wondering why
Norway sells way more electric cars per capita than the US? Norway. Well, I won't stand for it.
Kenan Thompson and Awkwafina are also in it, kinda, and the commercial is funny, because those three people are funny. And it concluded with GM's pledge to have 30 new electric vehicle models by 2025 and a fun, everybody in catchphrase. And yet I couldn't help but feel that General Motors wasn't being completely honest, leaving out a critical piece of the question, why does Norway sell more electric cars than America? I mean, who could possibly be responsible for America's failure to transition to electric vehicles? Would it surprise you to hear that the answer is actually General Motors? What? That explains that whole setup part. Because it was actually their fault that we didn't transition to electric vehicles, and they made a commercial asking whose fault it was. And just to be clear, this is not the fault of Will Ferrell or Kenan Thompson or Awkwafina. They're so funny. I love them, and if they want to be in one of these videos, but that's not here nor there, let's get into it. Back in the 1980s, tons of Californians were doing this totally random thing where they would die from health complications due to all the air pollution. So we passed a bunch of laws to clean up the air, and one of those laws was the 1990s California Zero Emission Vehicles Mandate, or CZEVM for short. This mandate gave auto manufacturers who wanted to sell cars in California 8 more years to figure out how to make just 2% of their cars not produce a poisonous gas every time you turned them on. Car companies were pissed for the very understandable reason of they didn't want to. You see, they're used to making hundreds of billions of dollars per year, and if they have to spend money researching and designing an electric car, I mean, they might only make tens of billions of dollars per year for a few years before they went right back to making hundreds of billions of dollars. So GM released a wave of lawyers onto the state of California to try to repeal that mandate. But they also had their engineers start working on an electric car. It was a sort of race between the lawyers and the engineers. Yeah, you know what, maybe I'm being a little overly suspicious of the car manufacturers. I mean, it's not like there's some kind of confidential memo that shows car companies were actively looking for a PR firm who could fake some sort of grassroots campaign to create, I don't know, a kind of climate where the mandate could be repealed. And then, a twist. Those GM engineering dorks, they made a kick-ass electric car. In 1996, GM released their first model EV1, and after a few tweaks, it could go 80 miles an hour and had a range of more than 70 miles on a single charge. And it wasn't just GM. Other auto manufacturers are cranking out electric vehicles, and people fucking love them. Especially A-list celebrities. America's dad, Tom Hanks, had one. America's uncle, Danny DeVito, had one. Actually, just the first two. That's all that you really need. Anyway, here's a clip of Tom Hanks talking about how much he loves his electric car on Letterman.
I have two cars. I have an all-electric car, and believe it or not, that sucker goes. That thing will take you down the PCH so fast you could get a ticket.
And of course, Tom Hanks is lying here, because what cop is going to give Tom Hanks a ticket? Seriously, I can't even visualize what that would look like. So from 1996 to 2003, GM had so much demand for the EV1 that their waitlists had waitlists. People were huge fans of this car. Like I am a huge fan of Will Ferrell. If you haven't seen the blooper reel for Eastbound and Down with Will Ferrell on it, you have to watch it. I linked it in the bio.
Take him to the farmer's market. Special 2 plums for 1.
Big fan, Will. Big fan. But while electric vehicles might have been really popular, they weren't all that profitable for GM, who is currently rolling out things like the Hummer. So their lawyers and special interest groups slowly chipped away at the mandate, and by April 24th, 2003, just 4 days after 420, GM corporate lawyers and lobbyists successfully killed the California Zero Emissions Vehicle Mandate. GM promptly shut down production and recalled all the EV1s, even though there were literally people camped outside of GM begging to let them buy their electric cars back. Not unlike people begging for Awkwafina to have more lines in this commercial. Come on, totally underutilized.
Can I ride with you?
No! Instead of letting people buy the EV1, GM loaded them all onto a truck, took them off-site, and crushed them perfectly working cars, crushed them into big-ass metal bricks that are basically only good for a giant who wants to build a metal house. And yes, sure, GM CEO Rick Wagoner later called the decision to axe the program the biggest mistake GM had ever made, and that they were very sorry about it. But apparently not sorry enough, because in 2019, GM joined the Trump administration in an attempt to sue California to reduce their emission standards. 2019 is a year you may recall as being less than 2 years ago. See, California didn't want to roll back their emission standards, and GM sued California to force them to let GM make worse cars. And GM only dropped out of the lawsuit November 23rd of 2020, a full 3 weeks after that thing happened. So are we supposed to congratulate GM for embracing the electric car just 2 months after they were literally suing California so they could make worse gas-powered cars? Because if so, congratulations to GM. And also congratulations to Kenan Thompson for his new sitcom. That guy has been on TV for his entire life. He can make anything funny, including a GM commercial.
We're in Finland, where are you?
To everyone else, please support your local and national air emission standard laws. I mean, there's a link in the bio to some upcoming legislation, but if you're not in any of those areas, you might just do some research. Find out what groups are keeping these corporations accountable to their goals. Because if history is any indication, GM might be tempted to, you know, hit the skip button on electric vehicles the microsecond it becomes available. Okay, thank you so much for watching Climate Town. I really appreciate it. I have a whole episode coming out on the auto industry, so if that's the kind of thing you want to see, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're feeling like getting crazy, I have a Patreon page, but you know, you gotta do you. Okay, bye-bye.
I have not tried marijuana.